US and Iranian officials have started direct talks in Switzerland after signing an initial agreement to end the war last week. The deal includes a commitment to reach a final agreement within 60 days, as well as an end to fighting on all fronts, including in Lebanon, and the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
Mr. Money is a powerful gentleman, said the 17th century Spanish poet Francisco de Quevedo. Spain is certainly no stranger to corruption, which has claimed plenty of political careers in recent decades.
Authorities in Bolivia report no active road blockades in the country, the day after President Rodrigo Paz declared a state of emergency in response to weeks of protests. Early on Sunday, the South American country's Legislative Assembly approved Paz's decree, which prohibited blocking streets, avenues, roads and highways in ways that affect transportation and supplies.
Siri's AI overhaul may have been the headline announcement at Apple's Worldwide Developers Conference earlier this month. But Apple's broader AI strategy is taking shape through a series of smaller features embedded across its software. Rather than asking consumers to adopt the new AI-powered version of Siri to get all the benefits that AI brings, the company is weaving AI into the apps and services people already use, with a focus on solving real-world problems. The result is that your iPhone will be able to split restaurant bills among friends, secure your passwords after data breaches, automate tasks, and organize information with less manual effort, among other things.
Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey and Egypt on Sunday welcomed the signing of the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding (OU) between the US and Iran during a Regional 4R4 meeting in Cairo, emphasizing the importance of achieving a swift and successful conclusion to the subsequent phase of negotiations. The meeting came the same day as Pakistan, along with C0 Meter Qatar, hosted delegations from the US and Iran and Switzerland for high-level technical talks ironing out the details of the MOU.
British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is weighing whether to resign within days, according to media reports, amid mounting pressure from his own Labour Party following a decisive by-election win by his rival Andy Burnham. Expectation is growing that Starmer could announce a resignation timetable as soon as Monday, the same day Burnham is sworn in as a lawmaker after winning Thursday's vote by a wide margin, a result that has reportedly emboldened Labour figures, including Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper, to call for Starmer to step aside.
Beirut, Lebanon. The Memorandum of Understanding (MO) between the United States and Iran leaves no room for doubt, declaring the immediate and permanent termination of military operations on all fronts, including Lebanon, between the two countries and their allies. The final deal will confirm the permanent termination of the war on all fronts, include on Wednesday added. The interim agreement signed on Wednesday added. Ducati's Marc Marquez claimed a thrilling victory at the Czech MotoGP on Sunday, with the seven-time MotoGP champion producing a late overtake of teammate Francesco Bagnaia to seal the win at Autodromo Brno, starting fourth on the grid. Marquez shadowed Bagnaia for much of the race before making his decisive move on lap 16. He then pulled clear in the closing stages to secure the win after a controlled final stint, sealing back-to-back victories after also triumphing in Hungary earlier this month.
Police in Scotland have charged a man in connection with a series of attacks in Edinburgh that UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer said appeared to be motivated by anti-Muslim hatred. Police said on Saturday that a 36-year-old Scottish man had been arrested on Friday and charged in connection with a number of incidents which took place in Edinburgh on Friday 19th of June 2026. 5 men were wounded in the attacks. New Zealand pace bowler Matt Henry has run through England's tail to give his side a 253-run victory in the second test at the Oval to level the series at 1-1, starting the 5th day on 182.5 and chasing 463 for an unlikely victory. England folded quickly on Sunday and were all out for 209 after less than an hour of play.
Millions of hopeful medical students across India are resitting a crucial exam under unprecedented security. After the first paper was cancelled following allegations that the questions had been leaked, nervous students were met with biometric identification checks, metal detectors, armoured patrols and frisking at exam centres on Sunday morning. Russian-backed authorities have suspended fuel sales to the public in the occupied region of Crimea as Ukraine continues its attacks on the peninsula. Fuel had already been rationed due to shortages caused by Ukraine's recent campaign against supply routes in Russian-occupied territories.
Britain's King Charles will tell the public for the first time on Thursday how much tax he pays as monarch. A royal spokesperson said on Sunday, as Buckingham Palace seeks to be more accountable and transparent. By law, Charles is not obliged to pay income tax, capital gains tax or inheritance tax on what he received from Queen Elizabeth. But Charles has voluntarily agreed to pay income tax and capital gains tax when he sells private assets.
The sacred month of Muharram has brought a sudden surge in catering services and sales of earthenware across different parts of the country. Driven by large congregational gatherings and sabils, food service providers report increased activity near majalis and water distribution points, where arrangements for meals and drinks are made for large crowds. Delegations from the United States, Iran, Pakistan and Qatar arrived at Switzerland's Bergenstock on Sunday for technical-level talks aimed at ironing out the details of the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding signed by Tehran and Washington to bring an end to the conflict that has engulfed the majority of the Middle East. On the table today, several important issues. The lifting of the US blockade of Iran, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, Israeli strikes on Lebanon and Hezbollah, unfreezing of Iranian assets, and the sale of the country's oil.
Colombians returned to the polls Sunday for a presidential runoff between a far-right firebrand who calls himself the Tiger and a left-wing senator from the ruling party in a contest that reflects sharply different visions for the country and could redefine Bogotá's relationship with the United States. Sunday's election comes after the strong showing by the far-right outsider Abelardo de la Espriella in the first round of voting in May, where he won 43.74% of the vote. The leftist candidate Ivan Cepeda from ruling Historic Pact coalition, who is backed by Colombian President Gustavo Petro, came in second place with just under 41% of the ballots.
Al Jazeera journalist Ahmed Wisher was killed on Saturday in Gaza's Burej refugee camp weeks after his brother Mohammed Wisher, who also worked for the Doha-based network, was killed in a deliberate Israeli shelling on his car. Ahmed, in his mid-20s, is the 12th Al Jazeera journalist to have been killed by Israel in Gaza, which has become the deadliest place for journalists in the world. At least 260 Palestinian journalists have been killed since Israel launched war in October 2023, according to the Committee to Protect Journalists.
At least 4 people have been killed in Ukrainian drone attacks on Crimea that have hit an oil depot and fuel facilities that Russia uses to supply its forces. Russian-installed authorities say Crimea's Moscow-installed leader, Sergei Aksyonov, said at least 28 people were wounded in the attacks overnight into Sunday.
The 2026 World Cup will have 13 different kickoff times. You can use the Al Jazeera Sport widget to find out exactly when your team is playing in your local watch. FIFA World Cup 2026 Group J match. Where? Dallas Stadium, Dallas, Texas. When? Monday 12 p.m. local time, 17 June. How to follow. How follow? We'll have all the build-up on Al Jazeera Sport from 14 June in advance of our live text commentary stream. Defence Minister Khawaja Mohammed Asif has called for ending the Vigo Dala culture in the National Assembly. Speaking during the Assembly session, he said that parliamentary traditions and decorum must be strictly observed and that any breach of rules in the Parliament House is unacceptable. He stressed that lawmakers should be properly briefed on parliamentary conduct and regulations to ensure order inside the House.
United States and Iranian delegations are gearing up for high-level technical talks slated to be held in Switzerland as a deal signed on Thursday between Tehran and Washington is strained by continued Israeli attacks on Lebanon. Iran says the deal includes a ceasefire in Lebanon and that the Israeli attacks are a violation of the agreement. Reigning European champion Spain, whose World Cup campaign got off to a shaky start, face Saudi Arabia in the headline event of the tournament's 11th day. Iran face Belgium in Sunday's second match as travel restrictions continue to disrupt the Middle East team's rest and recovery during the month-long global showpiece.
Colombians are heading to the polls to choose their next president in a runoff election, pitting a leftist heir to the country's progressive government against a far-right outsider promising a crackdown on crime. The vote takes place on Sunday, when more than 41 million eligible voters will decide between lawmaker Ivan Cepeda and criminal defense lawyer Abelardo de la Espriella, after the pair emerged from a field of 11 candidates in a first-round vote on May 31.
Thousands of protesters have marched through Albania's capital, Tirana, in one of the largest rallies yet against a luxury resort project linked to United States President Donald Trump that has become a lightning rod for anger over alleged corruption. Since late May, demonstrators have gathered every evening to oppose the planned construction of Ivanka and her daughter Ivanka and her husband Jared Kushner, a protected stretch, a protected stretch of the Balkan country's coast. The National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, has issued a nationwide weather alert, warning that thunderstorms, strong winds, heavy rainfall, urban flooding and glacier-related flood risks could the next 12 to 24 hours. According to the NDMA's National Emergencies Operations Centre, NEOC, the forecast weather pattern is consistent with the seasonal outlook issued 3 to 4 months ago. Pakistan is targeting the training and deployment of 300,000 to 400 Zealand workers for projects linked to the FIFA World Cup 2034 as part of a broader strategy to expand overseas employment opportunities and strengthen the country's position in international labour markets. According to official documents available with Wealth Pakistan, workforce planning is being aligned with anticipated demand arising from the FIFA World Cup 2034, with trained Pakistani workers expected to support infrastructure development, aviation, tourism and related service sectors between 2026 and 2034.
United States Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in Switzerland for talks with Iran days after they signed a memorandum of understanding aimed at ending the US-Israel war on Iran, which had sent oil prices soaring above $100 per barrel and rattled international markets. The latest round of talks, mediated by Pakistan and Qatar, is scheduled on Sunday, as Israel has intensified attacks on Lebanon, killing dozens of people on Saturday.
United States Vice President J.D. Vance has arrived in Switzerland for talks with Iranian officials on implementing the interim deal to end the US war with Iran. The US and Iran earlier this week agreed to a 60-fire extension for the negotiations. But Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on Saturday announced the closure of the Strait of Hormuz in response to Israeli attacks in Lebanon, although the US military said commercial vessels kept operating.
PPP chairman Bilawal Bhutto Zardari on Sunday announced advocate Amjad Hussain as the party's candidate for the post of Gilgit-Baltistan chief minister. The announcement came a day after the PPP, which emerged as the leading party during the recent general elections, announced it would form a government in GB with the support of the PMLN.
Beneath the scorching sun in the Sindh mango belt, labourers balance on tree branches, working at a swift pace to throw the freshly picked fruit into sacks held ready by farmhands waiting below. Though mango season is well underway, far less of the fruit will be bound for the lucrative export market than usual, with an agriculturally dependent economy caught in the crosshairs of the Middle East crisis that the government has helped mediate. That